of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Will you take attendance, please?
Trustee Baldaza.
Here.
Trustee Campbell.
Here.
Trustee Cleland. Trustee Jensen. Trustee Sorrow. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before we approve the agenda, I would like to ask if we can move some of the informational reports presented by students this evening, for those that are in the audience prior to the executive session. This is 2A, so those would be 6A, 6B, and 6C.
I don't have an issue with that. Any board members have an issue with that? Awesome. Let's go ahead and move those to one E, F, and G. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda with the movement of the student reports to 1E, 1F, and 1G. Do you have any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes. We'll go ahead to the student report on Marge Rover. So waiting a couple, okay. How about the FFA? Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. So I'm Laura Nelson. This is
Our Idaho FFA Foundation grant was awarded to the Notice FFA for $1,400, which is going to help with the animals for fair for our sheep.
So for example, I show sheep. Our just got a new sheep stand, which is going to help us be able to keep better care of our lambs, make it look prettier for fair. And then the Notice FFA Animal Science Project, members with animals for the Canadian Fish Fair. There's 14 beef, 13 sheep, and 2 swine.
So for our greenhouse sales this year, around 150 baskets were sold. 6 baskets were donated to the Notice City Hall, and there was amazing community support this year. And the crop was amazing.
Then our new chapter officer team this year is our president is Maria Wayman, our vice president is me, Laura Nelson, our secretary is Kelly Erskine, treasurer is Brooke Mann, our reporter is Sophia Sanford, and our sentinel is Cole Askew. And Parker Boyd.
Now it's time for my part. So, as it's listed there, we have several welding certifications. This was just prior to spring break. And in fact, our instructor, Mr. Church from Valley View, he's coming to, the inspector's coming to test some more of these guys tomorrow afternoon. So we're looking forward to another round to be handed out. So these are the SMON, the GMON, so arc welding and wire free welding certifications. As you look at the paper, I'll show it to everybody. The most important thing on that's that nice big red stamp by the welding inspector, Mr. Schertz. So that's the paper that they could literally walk into a shop and present as they have passed this certification. So I'm really proud, and he's started to test people, schools from Jordan Valley. He's all over the place, and he's never tested pressure. It's mostly juniors and seniors. So we're the only ones that have freshmen, so I'm pretty proud of that. These kids do a great job. They practice hard, they're focused, they're detailed, and what's nice is that it's all them. There's not many. I just showed them their coffee. Jackson Fields, come on up. Nice job. Tyler Morris. We had to double check my spelling. I got it right. Yeah, the band test, he'll bring those tomorrow with him. He was just finishing the paperwork on these. AJ, I can see AJ tonight. Had Chase. Not here, Chase. Funky Weiss. Quentin Gray. Come on down. Now, I hear gossip, he may have a welding job lined up.
No way.
Is that true story?
Yes, sir.
There you go. All right. Kevin Jensen. Come on down. Now, I know we're kind of out in the crowd, boys. If you've got more than one, raise your hand.
Wow.
We got 3 repeats. So I'm looking forward to, we've got a lot more work we can do, and I appreciate your hard work and dedication on this, and it's important that we continue to fund our ag program. And several years ago, the board put some money into the budget for that. Yeah, I write a lot of grants, but when I go to write those grants, they also ask if we have local funding. We'd like to make sure that when you're doing your workshops, that gets protected. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Move on to 2C Kids and Idaho Resiliency Project.
Hi, I'm Riley Paradise, and I'm currently a 7th grader and a member of the Notice Junior High Student Council. This video idea was presented to us by our principal, Ms. Wright. The idea of this video was to not only spread awareness, but to show our school that there are many different ways to support mental health. And on behalf of the whole junior high student council, we worked really hard and spent many weeks taking out of our game days on Thursday to work on this project, and even coming in on our weekends to basically work on it. And we designed a whole bunch of stuff. We even took out some class time, where we have free time to work on it. So, you ready? Do you ever feel down? Do you ever feel like your body's beating up? Well, there's a cure. It's not energy drinks. Or any special product. It's exercise. Exercise is a great way to keep your spirits up and help you have a healthy body. Exercise has a big effect on building your self-esteem.
By keeping your body healthy, you'll lower your chances of getting many diseases. Exercise can help reduce stress and can cause you to have a more positive outlook on the world. Exercise is proven to release the happy chemicals in your brain and improve your mood. Exercise will have a big impact on your thinking. Sleep is good too.
How does physical activity affect a person's mindset? Well, put it this way, you're in a dark basement with a TV or a phone, and if you go outside, then it gets you away from that dark basement, away from that TV, and puts you in the sunshine and gives you like natural like vitamin C and vitamin D. How do you think a person could get exercise?
Some of the ideas that come to my mind are playing sports, having active jobs, going on walks or runs, or just doing things like that.
Why do you think it's important to exercise?
I think it's important to exercise so that you can stay independent for as long as possible.
Well, you've heard it here from the students of Notice High School.
Yay!
So I think it's just a perfect example of just sharing an idea to our student leadership team and through this partnership with QC Kids. And they actually asked us to make sure they were junior high kids that when they said, yeah. Nice job. Thank you for presenting tonight, RJ.
Are we ready with,
I think we're still waiting on some, so I think we should probably go back to the.
Okay.
Executive session and then come back to it in the proper time.
okay, so, we need to go to into executive session. Do I have a motion to do that? There a motion and a second to go into executive session. Madam Clerk?
Trustee Baldasso?
Yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Sorrow?
Yes.
Trustee Jensen?
Yes.
Thank you.
This time we'll ask the audience to step out into the hub.
session at 7:10.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Ellen, come over here and sing it.
Right here, bud.
Oh. did he-
Hello. Yep.
Oh, I thought he. Okay.
How are you?
Clerk, I was incorrect.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Durenas is,
Dang it, I just
we give him a few moments.
Oh, okay.
So
wrote Owen Webb instead of Owen Webb.
It's okay.
we'll wait just a few minutes.
We'll know who you are.
I wrote Owen Webb.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren, will you guys come and sign in? You and Nico and Leslie, come and sign in right here.
Should be there.
Just need to sign your name, please.
It should be a PDF.
PDF already open.
Oh, it's already open.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, we'll back in at 7:12.
Thank you.
And we will head back into the student reports and we will go with the Mars rover.
So we had the opportunity to participate in Mars Rover this year. A lot of it sponsored by Pirate Learning Center. And we took 6 kids to the Mars Rover competition in Glennsbury last month. And Lucy will begin. Let's go to the next slide there.
Hello, my name is Alicia, and I'm talking about the blind drive that we did. The blind drive was where one of our teammates were blindfolded, and the assistant of the driver during the blind driving had to tell the person that was blind how to drive the rover and when to drive the rover, stuff like that. And I followed the instructions that they put. And the guy that was doing with my driving said that we had the best communication, but we still got we had really.
Where did they have to, where did you have to get the robot to?
So the rover started here, and we had to go this way, or we had to go this way, and press like that, or we could go backwards,
Okay, so you just have to make a
circle.
figure 8 or something.
Yeah. Wait, which one is this?
Your presentation.
Oh, well, the presentation on the engineering design process, so we actually created a comic. This was the comic we actually created like this for it, but we just did like this. And she was just really surprised of how we did it, and she said that we were the only ones because a lot of the other teams, they like wrote like what they were saying up on the thing, but we actually wrote stuff on the thing, but we didn't say that. We said other things. And when she asked questions at the end, she was just really surprised that we answered them so quickly and gave, yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
And we got the perfect score.
Owen's turn.
Oh my gosh. Good job.
Hello, my name is Owen, and I made our lab books and our posters. For our lab books, each day we would write how our day went,
what we did that was good, what might have not have worked, and what we could have done better. And we would do that every single day. And we got first place. A big difference that we had from some other teams is that we each had a lab notebook. Most other teams had one big lab notebook. And so we got first in that, and like we have like our t-shirt design up here. I'm not wearing mine because I forgot, but at least we have hers on. And she said that ours was like organized and just I don't know.
That's okay, go to the next one. This is his biggie, which is back over here.
Do you want me to take it up there or?
No, go ahead and just talk about it somewhere you are.
Okay.
It's fine.
So our poster, we got first, it's not up there, but we did. And, so we have the whole engineering design process of what we did. We have our pie charts, our team, like, a team picture of all of us. We have our goals, our problems, it's like we have our build, revise, and brainstorm. And we typed all the captions underneath it, and the pie charts are how much we did in each thing. So I worked a lot on poster, like mine is exactly half poster, but like Alicia's is over half rover build, and so it's just a lot of us are just. Yeah, we have one big category and little ones on the rest. And we like drew our like the banner on top, like we drew it and Jesse wrote on Notice Sea Rovers and what year it was, 2024. And so we have like all our revised, so we made 7 rovers and one of them, like our ultimate rover is the one we brought to the competition and that one won. But at the competition we did win the poster, the presentation, and the lab notebook. So rover had the low points on it, so.
Okay, I'll take over from here. So Ms. Lance and I were the coaches, and we had a mentor. Owen Bowen was our mentor. He helped us with our ultimate design in the end. And our graphics were all done by an IA in Canada. So our goals for next year, which they want to improve on rock collecting.
Yeah.
We only got 5 points, 15 plus them. And they want to improve on climbing and speed. We did okay on climbing. And Alicia was our mechanic and we had some breakdown problems in speed that she had to work out.
You thought she was just, working so hard.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, my
Here's a long story that goes with that. The professor who runs it out of Idaho State University said in the 9 years he's been doing it, we received the highest score that they've ever had, 91 out of 100 points. And then he emailed me this last week and said now all of the regional competitions are done and we have the highest points in the state, so we have the state.
Makes up for the mechanic problems. You did a great job. Good job.
I think our goal is to get well over 100 out of 100 next.
There we go.
Oh, and Alicia, will you come back up front so we can get a picture of you by the
Please.
presentation?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is absolutely cool.
Am I over the?
Smile, right here.
Smile.
Perfect.
Good job.
The rover was so important us it even had its seatbelt on in the activity
It is
bus.
Yeah.
They seat belted it in.
God love safety.
Yeah. It was funny because me and Alicia had to work together. Alicia said the rover should be Timmy, and I said it should be Ronald, so we put it together. It was Timmy, Ronald, Rover. That was hilarious.
Looks like our Gear Up kids are here, so we're gonna go ahead and move forward with that.
Right, so this is a presentation about our spring break Electro West trip that was presented to you by Gear Up.
Okay, so the first day of our trip, we went to the Golden Gate Park, as well as the California Academy of Science, and we also got to see some windmills. And we also got to go to the beach, and it was some of the students' first time going to the beach as well, which was really nice. So here we are at the California Academy of Science. They have many exhibits, and they have a really wide variety of animals that we don't see here in Idaho, so that was really nice. My favorite part was the rainforest exhibit because they had live animals in there, and the temperatures were also like very realistic to the real rainforest, which is nice.
My favorite part was the aquarium because I got to see all the species of fish and sharks, and there was an albino alligator.
After we left the Academy of Science, we headed down to the bus stop and we took public transportation to the other side of the Golden Gate Park, which is actually bigger than Central Park, I believe. And we went to the other side, which was down by the coast, and we had stopped by some windmills that had like a field of tulips and everything, so we took some pictures there. And then we headed down to the beach, which was down the block, which was some of the first time a lot of the kids got to go to the beach. And we spent about an hour running up and down the tides collecting sand dollars, and Miss Miller found her soul again at the beach. And it was really windy that day though, so there was like sand blowing everywhere, but it was a really fun experience. And then we headed back to the hotel. And then on day 2, we went and hiking of Mount Tamalpais. Nobody really knows to say. And we had a guided hike, and then we all collapsed from exhaustion. So on our hike, we climbed a mountain that was we went on like a 2-mile hike.
I would think it's like 13-mile hike.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
It was a lot of elevation. The park ranger took us. Yes. Miller took me.
Through this guide, she really explained about all the careers that we could, if we wanted to go into that. It branches out to all these places that we can go for careers, and we saw a lot of redwoods, which was one of our first time seeing redwoods, and we also got to see different types of plants and different types of poison ivy and types of critters and everything.
And then the Golden Gate Bridge, we got to learn a lot about the history of the bridge, and we went to the information center and we took pictures, and it was a lot of the kids' first time seeing it as well, which is really cool.
And then we went back to the hotel, and then for the next morning, went to the Academy of Art, and we toured the University Spring exhibition, and then we went to the downtown to go to the Salvation Army and help with the little project down there. So this is us at the Academy of Art University. While we were there, we got to see the spring exhibition, and we learned about like the different aspects of art and the history behind all the stuff that goes in like video games and like the design behind cars and all the beginning steps of like how to draw basic shapes. And then we actually got to meet a producer of Shrek while we were there. And then after we were done with that, we headed to the downtown. And we went to the Salvation Army, which was a big eye opener for a lot of kids here. And I was like actually really like glad everybody got to see how some people live, and it was a huge eye opener, and like it changed the attitude of a lot of kids. And while we were there, we spent 5 hours unboxing clothes and shoes and a whole bunch of stuff for like the community there. And there was an after school program, and we took a little break and played basketball with them. And then we went home, and then on day 4,
we went to go to the Fuse Project Center and Alcatraz as well. So Fuse Project is basically where they design a lot of
industrial
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, technology like for either babies or like medical technology, like for anyone really, for educational reasons as well. So we got to learn about careers there. Alcatraz, which I think it was everyone's favorite.
So when we went to Alcatraz, it was one of people's first times on a boat or like a little tiny boat. And a couple of us got seasick. That's okay, because when we got to Alcatraz, it was really fun just listening to it was like a world-winning audio tour, which was pretty cool. And we got to tour Alcatraz, like go throughout the island and learn about the history of all that. And then we headed home and we headed back to the hotel, and then we took a bus all the way down to San Jose, which is how we ended up in Adobe at the Adobe headquarters the next day and towards the campus.
So this was very nice for the seniors and for the juniors who were taking the digital imaging class with Mrs. Bright, because we were certified in some Adobe programs. So this was really cool to see like the behind the scenes and the workplace as well.
We got to learn about the different aspects of the work environment at Adobe headquarters, which is like very laid back and very fun, which we would have never thought. They actually have a basketball court that's like fully designed by like art and stuff like that. And then the different types of designs and chairs and like tables that we would never imagined were pretty cool. And then after this,
Each level of the building had different theme in each one. So it's either color theme, so there would be a quiet theme, research project team, and they had their own types of chairs that were like locked in, and we would just focus on each object, which really looked really. We had one of those.
Thank you.
and then we went to tour the college campus, which was pretty cool. It was really big, and some of us got to see palm trees for the first time, which was pretty cool. But we walked this campus for about 2 hours, an hour or two. And then we went to the bookshop and realized how expensive everything was. So we really got anything, but it was really fun. And then here are some pictures from our trip. That was Adobe headquarters, the upside down room. This is a motion picture room, like you would walk by and they would follow you. This is like roofs, and it would like move with you. And then the redwood trees that we got to see. This was us on our hike, and then that was us walking through the Golden Gate Park. And then some public transportation pictures.
Which we use 90% of the time of year around.
And that was us on the boat, and then this is the seniors at dinner.
It was raining this out.
Yeah. And we would just like to say thank you for letting us go, and a big thank you to Ms. Melissa's Right for us on our trip.
Great. Oh, we also want to say that it was also a culinary experience for many kids. We got to try out a lot of new foods, and it was good for the kids to like expand their palate eating.
Nice.
For different foods.
So I, like, for you guys, being from Idaho, like, I had never been outside Idaho for anything, so you go to the beach, like, you get all of that experience in one trip. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I could have been. That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. It was.
Good job.
Feel free to leave if it has you need to. There's no specific decorum. We're still here for about another hour or less. Or more. It's at 87 degrees on the panel, so I had to kick there.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too.
Did anyone have?
We can jump back up to number 3.
Yep, moving up to blue recognition, any board member recognitions? Okay. Moving on to consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion, who was second? Thank you. A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, do we have any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Moving on to public participation. Notice Education Association.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't know if I'm gonna introduce myself. From the perspective of the NEA, Superintendent Burness reached out to us about interest-based bargaining, which is very difficult for me to say, so I'm going to refer to that as IBB. And the association is supportive of moving forward with that. We think it's just a better way to deal with it, a little bit more solutions-based and a little bit less adversarial approach to just trying to, come together and figure out the best solution for things for the school. And really kind of helps go with what was asked by the association last year for like just a seat at the table, for the ability to give more opinion and more freedom to speak on some specific issues. To that end, if we're going to do this process, we want to make sure that we do it right and we do justice by the process. The IEA has a fantastic, well-recommended IBB trainer. Her name is Kathy Yamamoto. She comes highly recommended by other superintendents, including Craig Woods from Emmett. So if you have any questions about Kathy, please reach out to Craig from Emmett. I'm sure he would be happy to tell you about the trainings that they do. We look forward to getting that process started, getting these set up in terms of negotiations this year. Lastly, just to highlight something cool that a teacher did, Ms. Smith, the new music teacher over at the elementary, just put together a phenomenal little event to showcase the music program and as a fundraiser. It was fun. It was really cool just to get an opportunity to get the kids or to get to see the kids play their instruments and just do something cool, an opportunity that they haven't had to do in the past.
Very, very good. Thank you very much, sir.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Nick, you said Kathy Yamamoto, and you said she was from the IEA, but what her title?
What is her job? Do you know what that job title is?
She's a regional director, but she specializes in IBB training and facilitating. So she has like over 20 years of experience in IBB. And she trains me.
So you mean interest-based?
Yeah.
And so that's who you would like to use as like the facilitator?
Yeah, and as a IEA member, we do have access to her at no cost. It's part of our groups.
I actually have one more question. Why did I come back?
I'm sorry, I think Bailey Cullen's phone was dinging.
Oh,
But she was looking for her phone, and I think that's who's dinging.
I hear it. I texted her mom, but.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any, Madam Clerk, do we have any other?
We do not have any signed-in visitors.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to information reports, moving on to CASA board minutes. Does anyone have any questions in reference to CASA board meetings?
I'm not sure if we included all the documents that we probably should have, unless we went back and looked specifically at the CASA agenda. So we received information at the last meeting regarding budgets. And we are looking at an anticipated less than 1% increase for special education costs for next year. And it's very, very minimal for us as a district. And a lot of that has to do with just the work that Tammy Anderson has done to kind of shore up Medicaid billing and some other funding sources for special education within the consortium. And so we were very pleased with the information regarding the special education budget. Not so pleased with the proposed budget for the CTE program. I think they were looking, pull that up real quick, but essentially the board voted, several months ago, the cost board voted to kind of take the construction trades program and float it back out to see about interest from students. And with the hope of being able to hire an instructor, a highly qualified instructor. And they were able to do that. So now the discussion is, if we just add a program, what does that do for budgets versus if we have to look at the other programs that have lower numbers. So I, on behalf of the Nodus School District, on behalf of all of the districts, made a point of saying, like, where the board, the cost of the board needs to look very closely at what programs they continue to offer and whether or not they continue to offer full programs that have not filled seats. So again, each of those programs, the welding is the most popular program. And it typically has about anywhere from 24 to 36 students enrolled in it. 36 is the max capacity for any of those CTE programs. But there are several other programs that have 36 seat capacity that are in single digits and are still offering 2 sections in each of those programs. So culinary is an example of that, law enforcement is an example of that. The pre-engineering program is an example of that, but they're also looking to add electrical CTE as part as kind of co-seated with the pre-engineering. CASA CTE is doing we have the potential to do some great things. We're the only school in the state that has state-of-the-art law enforcement simulator. It's like a $40,000 or $50,000 machine. But yet we only have 7 students in that program. We're the first CTE program in the state to be certified for advanced emergency medical technician program, but we only had 1 student in that program this year. So it's been a point of contention around how do we build interest in those programs, but still maintain cost sustainability. And so I'm sure that will be a point of discussion next Monday's board meeting. Anything else you want to add there?
No.
Sounds like they have too much to offer at this point. And like this $40,000 machine for law enforcement.
It's actually 100 and some thousand.
Oh.
100, yeah. It's amazing. I've used it. I've gone through the system. It is an amazing program. My concerns, as well as Micah's concerns, and as well as all the other district concerns, is it's great, but nobody's using it. And again, I think because of the way CASA is set up, it comes down to certification. And in law enforcement, you can't get any real big certifications. And that becomes part of the issue. CNA, you did a great, same thing with EMT, all of that. You can get some really good certifications, but law enforcement and culinary are just one of those that you really don't. And it's very, very, very difficult. I know Mr. Williamson has had several students go on to CWI and graduate from their law enforcement programs. We had a student, and was one of our former students, that went through the program and just recently graduated last week. And so knowing that is very cool. But, and he's had several students who've gotten jobs at prisons and stuff without going through college because of his program. Mechanics.
Yeah, they added back the intro to auto and diesel this last year. They've been offering sections of that in Parma and Homedale, or Arma, Marcy, and the Academy. And they've seen a significant uptick in kids willing to do that. You don't have to stay, it's not a 3-hour program, it's a much smaller, they can put it an hour for the year. And we actually have a meeting on our calendar later this week to meet with Ms. Fromm. She'd like to figure out a way for us to be able to offer intro to auto on our campus. The trick with that is shop space. So right now we don't have shop space in the ag department. The old CTE ag building has been reestablished as the ABM maintenance department. And so we're gonna walk around and talk. They do have some what they call trainers. So they're basically engines on hoists that are mobile. They can move them around. So it's sort of a whole car. You just have room for a little motor. So we're just gonna kind of walk around and see what space options are, right? To be able to see if we can offer it. I don't know if we'll be able to offer it next year. We have a challenge around with our schedules. In order to fully participate in the auto program, it's a 5-semester program, which means that our sophomores have to travel. Our sophomores have really struggled with that for being able to manage their academic workload because they still have 4 classes that they have to take that they end up taking through IULA. They're not as successful in their IULA than the actual teachers in the classroom. So we're meeting with CASA administration later this week to talk through what are our options if until and when we're able to dedicate space to it. And I've told them classroom space, no problem. Shop spaces that they can have. Anything else?
Any other questions? Okay. Move on to elementary principal report.
Just kind of shout out this Thursday, we're hosting an old school field day. So it's kind of something that I wanted to bring last year, but I decided not to rock the boat too hard. But, especially as we've spent a lot of time watching our high school athletes and our junior high athletes in track and field, bringing back kind of that old school elementary field day, where it's the 30-yard dash and the softball toss and the frisbee toss and all of those kind of pre-track events. So the team has been working to put that together. We're still looking for volunteers, if anybody wants to help out with that. Let us know. We'll put you in the shade and we'll just make sure that the kids are okay, or we can have you out there with a tape measure if you'd like to. But have that coming up this Thursday. We also have several other things. Today was our wagon stone field trip for 4th grade. Kids out last. And so our 5th grade states presentations today. On Thursday, our 6th graders are leaving for their Bruno trip. It's just that time of year where it's a little wild and crazy. We have the chickens that get hatched in the room, and it's been a little bit of a chicken coop mess for the last couple weeks. The kids have absolutely loved it. Spent some time in the kindergarten and the preschool room, so our preschoolers are excited about that coming next year as well. So I reminded kids every day in the last couple of days, like we still have school for 2 weeks. So just because the sun's shining doesn't mean that we're on vacation. So
The teachers or the students?
mostly the students, actually. For that. So just a lot of good stuff going on in elementary school. I did include this, I talked about the superintendent report, just projecting enrollment for next year by elementary class, but I'll talk about that in the superintendent's report.
Any questions? Okay. Move on to grants coordinator report.
Do you have any new reports for the grants or federal programs you want to skip to
Okay.
Unless
We'll
you have any
move
questions.
on. Anyone have any questions? All right. We'll move on to your junior CNI.
I will have my community schools and after school program present in June. Your program wraps up. For the junior senior high, just celebrating those 19 seniors that signed for college day. Celebrated our PBIS second semester. We started junior high spring training out on the football field last week. Big day's coming up Tuesday, graduation. Really wrapping up. We're on the show tonight, which I appreciate Mr. Brooks complimenting Ms. Smith. It was magic. It was awesome to see an event in May and a brand new teacher. It was great. So, and then to hear junior high band and high school band play two pieces together. So just complimenting all the hard work that she's put in. Tomorrow we'll have our third carnival that our Garrett kids are hosting, and that's where we have 20 stations to learn about different careers, from suturing to skills with pharmacy tech to
Suturing?
yeah. So we think they're like it's like hands-on.
Oh, that wasn't what I was thinking at all.
Suturing is not so
Yes. Yeah, I was like,
we do have fashion design. Yes. Anyways, so that was for next week, or tomorrow, and then follow up with our seventh grade one. So just as busy as the elementary, we're wrapping up. Still working on the master schedule with the students, and so I have my footprint, and now we can move forward with being juniors and going down to seventh grade tomorrow night. That's it on that.
any questions? Okay. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
A lot of numbers in this report. Specifically looking at just kind of where our current enrollment is and where our projected enrollment is for next year. So trying to look at specifically kind of rolling classes forward. We are anticipating a slight dip in enrollment, and most of that is at the elementary level. As we're looking to kind of make sure that we follow those open enrollment caps for our primary grades. And, you know, showing here on the projected enrollment, we will have capacity next year in third grade, fourth grade, sixth grade, and then seventh on up. So we do still have some capacity for open enrollments coming into the district. We do have a wait list in several of the other grade levels at the elementary school already of families that have expressed interest in that, but based on our current enrollment caps, we don't have a space for them. So our district groups for that. I want to talk briefly about budget models. So there's some information, and those of you that have been behind the scenes on this know the pendulum swing I have been on with this for the last 2 weeks. So we were told on May 1st that to possibly expect 5% holdback from the state to pay for protection costs. That was a significantly larger number than anybody in the state was anticipating. And so for a district, it was calculated all for us, and it was given to us on a spreadsheet. This is what you should expect next year. And for us, that number went from about 19.5 funding units to 18.5 funding units. So I did notify board chair administration, kind of put a lot of brakes on some planning short term while we were trying to sort out which way was up for a few days. Broke Jen a little bit, I think it broke me a little bit. We've heard back from the State Department to anticipate it will be closer to 1 to 2% rather than 5%. So we're still looking somewhere in the neighborhood of us, a little bit less than we had anticipated, but at 19.13 units. And that's a conservative estimate based off of, again, declining enrollment at the elementary level and just ADA. So again, it comes back to a lot of strong feelings in the rooms with other superintendents, particularly when the governor's representatives are in the room or the State Department are in the room. Just about this information is information that we need sooner than later as districts, and dropping it on us on May 1st is not much appreciated with that. A lot of superintendents still go back to the enrollment-based funding issue versus the ADA funding issue. So again, the better our attendance, the better our actual funding is set up. But when we're building models based off the fact that we don't see the money until February based on numbers moving forward, it's hard for us to crystal ball the moving target, and that's been exceedingly hard since COVID with that. And so, as Donita and I have worked through, we're getting closer to having a draft budget. We're still a few days away. We'll talk a little bit later about scheduling the board budget workshop later in the meeting. But we feel confident in that 19.13 number is at the bottom of what we will see, and that we're hopeful that we might see back up to that 19.5 range by the time we're set with that. But when you're budgeting based on that, it's hard to overpromise, because the last thing we want to do in February is have to freeze accounts and pull them back. Staffing, these are our current staffing positions open. We have several in the extracurricular department, kitchen manager, the classified IDLA coordinators. These are positions we have to post by statute, given the employee status, relationship to board members. And then we do have that elementary teacher position. The current plan, again, if you come back up and look at our projected enrollment for next year, we are closer to the caps than we've been in a while. And as superintendent, and with the support of the building principal at the elementary level, I think the building principal at the high school level, because it was always a dream of hers, rather than hiring a teacher that's a split classroom teacher, that as that bubble grows, that teacher moves, and as those numbers shift, we may lose that person. So if we hire a phenomenal teacher, there's no stability in that position, of reassigning that position with support of some federal funds to specifically identifying a reading specialist, an intervention specialist at the elementary level. So that's the current plan this year, is to move a teacher that we currently have on staff into that role, utilizing some of our title federal funds, and being able to use some of our staffing footprint to fill her classroom position. And then as we're offsetting federal funds, we'll actually be paying for less teacher positions out of the general fund than the full 22 that we have projected. So again, when we see the decline in the potential units, we're looking at potentially pulling a half, maybe 3/4 of teaching positions out of federal funds rather than out of the general fund. So just wanted to share that with you there. And that brings us to the staffing allocations. So this is, again, kind of the footprint as it has evolved. So, again, over the last several months, I've shared variations of possibilities based on this. This is our current, our shifted plan. So you'll see there from 23-24, moving from 8 assigned teaching positions at the elementary school to 9.33. So that's the 8 that we currently have, which is all of our classroom teachers, plus a halftime PE, plus a halftime music, plus a full-time reading interventionist, plus a third of an EL specialist. And we're having a meeting with that staff member tomorrow morning to talk more specifically about that role. And then seeing the secondary staff footprint decrease by 1 1/3. But actually within this building, not losing any actual staff other than the athletic director position from the footprint here. In order to do this, we're reassigning, again, federal funds to be able to do that. And that equates to 3 of our classified positions, reassigning our Title I money to that intervention specialist, including a trained reading teacher in charge of that program, and our EL support staff, reassigning that some of those federal funds to help pay for the English language certified teacher for part of that, to help pay for that. So a little less human bodies, but a little bit more quality in training and preparedness for those positions. Also, just included CASA there, not a ton of change there. You will see a shift in the classified staff. We do have a student transitioning from 6th to 7th grade. It does have a staff member that transition to 3rd, but pretty much everything else stays the same there for CASA. Are there any questions specifically about the footprint or the plan? K-12 supplemental budget, and this has kind of been our biggest saving grace this year. So, even with the production shifts, the passing of the supplemental budget by the legislature gave a little over $100 million back to the K-12 that had been appropriated for the FY24 year, but had not been distributed. And so we will actually see about 132,000. There's a possibility we may see a few more than that, but they told us not to bank on it because they have to count all of the final pennies after year-end close out. And again, for us, that is the rough equivalent of what we expended on staffing out of ESSER funds for last year. So as has been communicated earlier this year with the association and meetings with the administration and the board, this buys us another year to take a look at the same question around classified and certified staffing. So that's where we'll just kind of keep things there. The goal from the State Department is to pass a student per pupil funding mechanism to help distribute these funds. It has to go through the legislative process where you give $1,000 for every student, you get an extra $1,500 for special ed, you get an extra $250 if they're reduced lunch, you get an extra $250 if they're EL, and to help distribute some of those funds based on the kids that we actually see, and the fact that some of our kids actually cost more to educate than all of our kids. And then a couple final things. It's planning development time again. Lent Manor has been renamed Conway Ridge. They've submitted the application to the city. I did have a phone conference with them about a week and a half ago, talking with the development team on some of the changes that they've made to their plan compared to their first initial submission, most of which includes only doing single-family homes rather than dense R3 residential multifamily units, which from my perspective at the district, I like that more because most of those multifamily units were immediately on the corner here. But they've gone from about 240 homes down to 169 homes. Had a good conversation with them about the impact it has on the district from a student safety perspective. They've committed to making it contingent on the project to make sure that they do upgrades to the school crossing zones to provide access here. Had a good conversation around, just putting a crosswalk in doesn't help because it still costs people. So talking about a lighted crossing system, some of those types of things, in addition to sidewalks and lighted sidewalks all the way back in the city. And then also just talking about just the impact on our building capacity. So the lead developer tossed out an idea, it's very tentative. I could talk him into it if he can talk his team into it about potentially donating a portable sometime mid-development to help offset either our preschool program or find some other classroom spaces, particularly at the elementary level, because we're just pushed up there. So just overall a good conversation. I did learn in that they've committed to putting in the second well for the city, which is the kind of big sticking point with the city approvals was the pressurized water system. In fact, the city didn't have a way to put in or repair the secondary well. And so that was just information that they shared, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of community meetings coming to a theater near you. And then lastly, just an update on transportation. I know this has been a big topic of conversation this year as well. We're trending a little less than our projection, and that's inclusive of all of our activity busing as well. So I think we just lost battery on that computer. So we had set aside, and based on our projections, about $271,000 to pay for school transportation, and that was based off of an estimate of just running daily buses back and forth. It did not include sports and activities. And right now, we are anticipating that final number being about 256,000. Might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less, depending on fuel costs this month. And so now that we've got a full year under our belt, we're getting our new fuel price index numbers from them to be able to build our budget a little bit more specific. And looking specifically at what does it cost to run daily buses to and from school, what does it cost us to run buses to and from CASA programs, and then what does it cost to run for activities, including field trips. So you can see there, just in that estimate, about $16,000 of ground bus was just for after-school sports, in addition to about another $12,000 per mile based on our running of our own activity vans. So, again, we're committed to offering extracurricular activities, but contrary to popular opinion, they're not free, right? So, that comes in there. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Looks like we're good. Moving on to old business, and these are some action items. We need to consider approval for policy updates to the 6,000 series or move to another reading. Looking at most of the 6,000 series, it does look like we have some options, especially for 6,100.
So specific to 6,100, the option there is to delegate authority to the superintendent to declare a position vacant should an employee willfully refuse to acknowledge receipt of an employment contract, or if the employment contract is not signed and returned to the board in the designated period of time. So by our policy, in its current form, it's 10 days from the issuance of your contract to sign and return it. And this is just an optional statement of saying if they don't return it in that time or they refuse to sign it, rather than holding a special board meeting to declare the position vacant. As a superintendent, if they don't meet the criteria, I can declare the position vacant and post it without having a special meeting.
6,100.
Yep. If I can move forward, Grace, we're going to take these one at a time, correct?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So for 6,200, it's just district organization. It's there highlighted in red. If for whatever reason our superintendent decides to have a romantic relationship with someone, how that changes a little bit. 6,200P kind of gives an organizational chart of how that would work out. We have 6,320, evaluation of administrative staff. Just that area highlighted in red. And then we have 6,400, which large section is highlighted. Yeah, it's just principal evaluations. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just cleaning up language, to match, statutory language, so, chief among us is, another conversation with another committee about, removal of the 67% evaluation based on professional practice. It's no longer required by state statute, so they're just going to clean up this language, to match statute and administrative rule, specifically 6400. We are working specifically with the teachers and teacher evaluation policy comes later this summer, specifically looking at utilizing student input and or portfolio of feedback rather than parent input. Part of that primarily was just the low numbers of responses needed when we send out parent surveys. So it's something that we can look at, but it's not something that we want to hinge anyone's evaluation solely on. So with that, I would recommend approving all of these policies, including 6100 with the adoption of the document statement.
Do I have any kind of motion in reference to policy 6000 series?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve all of the 6000 series except for 6100.
Okay, do I have a second? Do we have any further discussion? Sorry, I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? If I may ask, why do we want to hold back on 6100? Do you want to do it individually or?
No, just in reference to the superintendent declare a position vacant without our approval.
Okay.
And because we're, now, if we were a bigger district, I think that would be, since we're a smaller district, I don't know, I just don't think, I think we should still have to bring it to us. And then we approve, or just, whatever. So I'm just concerned about that.
So you want to approve it, but without that option? Because that is also, because again, that's option.
That's an option, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have my copies of 61.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
So we can adopt the motion as presented and second it, and then we can approve the motion regarding 6100 for additional.
Okay, so it looks like we have a motion to approve 6200, 6200P, 6320, and 6400. You still wanting to second that, sir? Yes. Okay. Motion in the second. Any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Aye. Aye. Aye.
So just one abstain?
Yes, one.
Okay.
Motion passes. In reference to 6100, do I have a motion in reference to 6100?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we move 6100 to a third reading.
Okay. We have a motion to move policy 6100 to a third reading. Do I have a second? A motion and a second to move policy 6100 to a third reading. Any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Moving forward to 7B, consider approval for policy updates in the 8000 series. This is the second reading.
Specifically reference, the proposed policy, 8605. I apologize that I have not been able to clarify with our IT department, an appropriate protocol is for maintenance of email records. So, at this point, I am not prepared to move forward with 8605. I would ask that policy be pushed out to third reading. You know, that any questions, regarding some other discussion, or the rest of the policies in the packet.
8245 has several options. Yes. Unpaid school charges, meal charges. If you guys have not gone through, had a chance to really read that one, I think we need to. There's a lot of options in that one.
We do currently have kind of some practice around some of this information which we can provide. Typically, right now, it's a $20 minimum. Once they hit $20, they're considered kind of in arrears. We still feed the kids.
Yeah.
And then we bill parents for it later, which is why we consistently run about $3,000 of debt in school lunches, anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000, depending on the month. And we don't provide a separate alternate meal. So in some systems, in some schools, they provide the cheese sandwich and a glass of water, right? I don't know if they still do, they used to, right?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Speaking clearly, right? But typically, we still provide food for kids because kids can't learn without food. And then, you know, so specifically to that policy, there are some of those, we have somebody efficient who will fill in those holes. Would take any guidance from the board on their thoughts and opinions on some of the other options. And then on the charitable assistance, you know, we have utilized some of our community school funds and some of our other funds to help offset some of those charges. We're continuing to look at kids who qualified for your reduced since they had those charges and how offset those funds or those bills don't fall on those kids as they continue to move forward in our system. And so, you know, it's just something that we continually make sure that kids are taken care of, but the food service actually gets them up to help offset their operational costs as well.
So, on my computer, it's green on red, the red and green, and I can't get into 8245. I don't see it listed there.
It's very, very fun. They move every time I open them.
Oh,
so we can, Mr. Chair, in the interest of time, we can push the entire series for a third reading. Most of them are fairly minor updates, but we can specifically look at maybe pull out the bunch of options and stuff that I don't for consideration next week.
The only other one that I was kind of concerned with was 8210, in reference to there being a district nutrition committee. And looking at this, it looks like it's been in place since 2009. Yes, and that's my understanding too. Having spoken with prior director. So again, that would affect one of us, probably not me. One of us being on that committee, since it's part of that is requesting the board member be on that committee. So
And likely the requirements for a committee like that, we would be looking at an annual review process for a single meeting, to kind of go through all of those. Rather than having like meeting sort of part of the committees. But yeah, it is something that we should be doing, to start.
What was that?
That one's 8210. It's district nutrition committee.
And again, just to draw attention to the statement about the dietitian, no dietitian in school might consider that it's not listed in the actual ISBA policy, so dietitian is an option. I take it school nurse or another counselor will look at dietitian.
Yeah,
So,
I understand that.
Okay, so I have
Good.
some.
Sure.
That maybe you could just address for me and I'll start with 8100. And it has to do with, notice student in foster care. So if that student, if one of our students is going into foster care, then it's stating that we would provide transportation. To the school of origin. So does this mean like you have to pick the child up, bring the child to school?
Maybe, one of the, and again, this is just bringing our policy in line with state and federal law. And Jen is the McKinney-Vento coordinator, feel free to jump in at any point. But, yeah, we're still required to, provide transportation to them from their temporary placement. If they're placed into the system, typically we get reimbursed by Health and Welfare for that. So oftentimes, in my experience, and my experience is dramatically different than Ms. Wright's around foster care, but typically the agency reimburses the family directly for transportation rather than going through the district. But if we were to have to provide transportation, if the family was unable to provide transportation, we would have to send either a bus to pick them up or provide mileage reimbursement to the family, and then get reimbursed from Health and Welfare if Welfare couldn't reimburse them directly. This is a crisis situation in our entire state. We've had students, not here, but in my experience in the last 3 years, that they can't even find placements for. And so these kids are put up into Airbnb with rotating staff that stay with them for 8-hour shifts and 3 8-hour shifts to supervise them in a home environment that's not really home. So, but yeah, we are required by federal law to provide transportation in that capacity. Anything you want to add? That's right.
And then the next one I have is 8235. Water bottles. They have to be clear.
Yeah, this is silly. This is the ISBA recommendation, right?
But I'm not gonna say they're clear.
It does not have, it says, we do not enforce should be removed. That's what the note of the law says.
It says what?
On our copy, it says, we don't enforce this. Should we just remove the word clear?
Yeah.
Because, there's pros and cons. Again, it comes down to, can we verify what's in the bottle? It comes back to safety and security around kids smuggling in alcohol or any of that. I don't think we've had a problem. I can say this, in the elementary school, we've not had a problem. And then we have implemented the low contact water sources. throughout our district. The one kind of still catch-22 that's an engineering building issue is the cafeteria doesn't have drinking fountains. So currently we still pay for bottled water to be delivered to the cafeteria. So the students who don't use milk still have the water source. But I fully would support the removal of clear.
Thank you. I can imagine, I can just hear parents say, but I've spent all this money on these water bottles, so, and I like, really, I agree with you. So we're not gonna say so.
Stanley's and Yetis and higher
Yeah.
classes. Oh my.
What? I spent $20 on that water bottle? And I know, but that's what I would
That's
say.
cheap. They're like 50 plus right now.
They are taking that bottle, that's what I would say. So yeah, they're, just take out that. So then I have 1870. Oh. So sometimes, as a teacher, the only way I can get a student to participate or have the, like, give rewards, it's really all to do with food. And so this is saying that we can, like, we can't give them food as a reward.
So this is a recommended ISBA policy that is not currently in our policy handbook, and likely for some of the same reasons that you're saying, right? It is important, as we look operationally to make sure that, that we're not overusing food as a motivator, that we're not violating our wellness policy around the distribution of food, particularly around the serving times of lunch, from that 10:35, 10:40 to 12:35 range. We can have pizza parties during that time, we can, some of those types of things, but this policy, to enact this policy in our district, we have restricted, and my recommendation is to not adopt this policy.
And I was thinking like pizza candy, not pizza party. And the next one I have, I think it goes into more of 8310, 8310.1, 8310.2, 3. It's the, with the defibrillator. What are we thinking about that?
So we have them. We are still in the need of replacing one. We have one currently in this building, but we should have two. They are not cheap. They're a couple of $1,000s a piece. And we have one that is malfunctioned and we've replaced the battery and it does not work. We have them in our buildings. We train our staff through their staff training at the beginning of the year on the AEDs. From a policy implementation perspective, it makes sense to ensure that that we're doing our due diligence around maintaining those. And again, as far as certified users, the current ones that we have are self-guided, like they talk to you and tell you what to do. They tell you how to use them. Probably the biggest thing for me is the inspection and inventory. Right? So making sure that we're routinely, or our maintenance team is routinely inspecting them. Tabs on some of those information. So from a best practice perspective, from an emergency response perspective, that's why this policy was written. And if we've ever have to use one, right? Right now we have a uniform incident report that we can use, but this one's very specific to AEDs. And to provide the specific information needed in the sense that emergency personnel show up.
So there is one statement here, the superintendent shall designate a school physician to serve as an emergency healthcare provider to monitor the program and make sure that all designated responders are properly trained.
And I can do that. So it's not atypical for local positions, and we don't have any in notice, but I can identify a practicing physician in a clinic nearby that can help assist with that program. And again, specifically, you know, we do a lot of work with the county emergency manager. They can assist us with identifying somebody that could provide that support. We typically, and again, notice is so small that it's not a standard practice, but most schools who have school nursing personnel still have an identified physician that can help assist that nurse in the event of an emergency medication dispensing for an EpiPen or maintaining emergency meds on site. You know, we have to get those prescribed by a doctor. And so, you know, whether that's in a school setting, that's everything from, again, an EpiPen to glucagon to Narcan, all of those things.
Defibrillators again. And so, how about 8320P? This looks like maybe a fire drill. Essentially, that's what they're asking. Emergency drills, rules and procedures. Is that what they mean? It's like a fire drill? Yeah.
Yes. We will need to edit this because we don't currently use a column tree. We do have protocols around notification, around emergency drills and procedures. Again, this is why our procedures don't currently match this recommended policy. And so, again, this is an ISBA uniform policy rather than a specific practice within our district. So I would say, given our emergency plan that is board approved and using the protocols for evacuations, this policy is not, at least this procedural policy is not required.
And then the last one I have, JD800 drones. I think that's what it's about. It's about drones, and it has like, again, I think it has some options. Like, lots of options.
It's got lots of options. So drones have become a new odd topic. I wouldn't say a hot topic, but they've become a new odd topic, and specifically related to STEM programs and extracurricular and after-school programs, and the use and interest in drones. They become a sticky, weird, odd situation because drones fall under FFA administrative rules and regulations, so around no-fly zones and some of those types of things. So, this is, to my knowledge, not currently an issue where we have any clubs and activities actively utilizing drones, but it's just something that we want to make sure that we keep in mind if and when we do start to utilize them. We would probably want to make sure that we look more closely at identifying this, and she does, then we should probably do this. So we will come with a more cleaned up recommendation and not all green for you to review.
I was thinking kind of like, what if somebody off campus uses a drone to come over and check us out?
It happens a lot, ironically. So in addition to the realtors that use them, we've used them to take pictures of the parking lot when the kids take their things here.
Yeah.
But the new thing in ag science is drone-based crop management. So there's a gentleman that drives around and crop dusts using drones in fields right nearby us. So it's not atypical for us. And again, it would be just one of those things where we probably behoove us to make sure that we have at least a basic protocol in place to make sure that our staff and our students know, like if they're doing something and they cause an incident, that they just need to know where the boundaries are.
Yeah, so that's what, again, you mean by cleaning, going through cleaning. And that's all I have.
So, yeah, I appreciate that. That helps give good guidance for us. I recommend moving the 8,000 series to a third read.
And with that being said, I recommend the 8,000 series be moved to the third read.
We have a motion and a second to move the policy update 8,000 series to a third read. Do we have any further discussion?
Yes, so does that mean that, like you guys will look at like some of those things and.
Send you a version that's not green, but just for you.
No, I can see it on the computer if I could log in, which I made a note to our board clerk to help me with that. So, and I could see it online, but I just can't see my.
Any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Moving on to 7C, administrative salary schedule.
Mr. Chairman, as a reminder, I brought a tentative administrative salary schedule to the April board meeting that was based on kind of a per point factor, based on a base rate of pay. It's listed in the packet as salary schedule factored. At the request of the board, I provided some additional comparison to other districts in the valley, as well as a converted to an actual salary scale. This is their salary schedule scale. That's a little bit more familiar from a look and feel perspective there. In my research, it appears as though many of the districts that have been using the factor have moved away from them. It's a little easier to use mathematically, but it's not something that's very familiar with when you first look at it. So I do have the two scales there, or the scale and the factor for you to look at to consider adopting. Again, this provides a structure for administrative pay moving forward for building principals, both for Ms. Wright in part. There are other factors for Ms. Wright's contract that would not be included with the approved scale here, as we've discussed previously. And then the admin contract amendment. So what I need from the board is just to identify if you wish to adopt one.
The factor of the scale?
The scale and the admin contract amendment.
Do I have a motion in reference to the administrative salary schedule?
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you remind me about the amendment?
Yeah, so and again, I don't know that we printed one of these for you with that, so you'll know that, Jen. So it just outlines the personal days and the sick days for administrative staff, as well as their professional memberships and their discretionary PD dollars. So again, this is just the standard package for future administrators. This amendment is not specific to Ms. Wright's current contract amendment.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to make a motion that we accept or approve the proposed factor versus the proposed scale, or adopt the factor, as we talked about earlier, and then also adopt the amendment that we stated earlier.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the proposed factor and the amendment to the administrative salary schedule. Do I have a second? A motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Moving on to new business, 8A, consideration of certified school year 24-25 certified contract renewals.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I recommend approving the certified contract renewals as presented in the board packet.
With that being said, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to consider approval of said notations in the packet for this certified contract renewals for 24-25
School year. I have a motion to approve the certified contract renewals for school year 24-25. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Moving on to discussion of school facility funds, maintenance modernization funds, and plant facilities levy for fiscal year 25.
I said an hour, didn't I?
Really? You just got to that?
I was hoping. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
want to just take some time explaining the difference between some of the funding pools, specifically as it relates to school facilities. This last legislative session, one of the hotly contested items, as we've discussed previously, is House Bill 521. This is the bill that provides a significant amount of money for the first time, bonded state dollars back to school districts, specifically for use for school facilities. This is what's called the School Modernization Fund, not to be confused with the School Facilities Fund. So last year, we were given money in tax rebates from the state legislature to use for school facilities that had to go to pay down existing school debt. So the use of our bond for that, or our supplemental levy, which for us is the CASA levy, go to help offset that. This year with House Bill 521, again, this is what was known as the Christmas tree bill. Everybody tagged a little something shiny on it as it went through. This is where the debate around 4-day schools kicked up. This is also where, in order to give some of this money, they took some other things away from school districts. So primarily for us, they take away bond equalization. So for us, there has been a fund in place that for schools that qualified, that had a bond, they got a certain rebate back from the state to help equalize the fund for the local taxpayers. That fund is now gone. However, we've been told by our financial advisor that the additional money that we receive in 521 specific for school facilities is pretty much a wash. So within roughly $1,000. So one of the biggest concerns that I had, one of the concerns, I won't say it's one of the biggest, they're all big. One of the concerns that I had was the loss of that bond equalization payment, putting us upside down by $85,000. But according to our financial advisor, that should hold true and equal. They're bonding out the money and generating they're taking $100 million and generating $1 billion of funds to give to school districts across the state. And there are two options for school districts based on the legislation. You can choose to take it, a portion of it every year for the next 10 years. And if you choose to take it that way, you have to spend it on paying down your bonds and levies. Or you can choose to take it up front in one lump sum and spend it on anything you want. In the realm of school maintenance and facilities and capital projects. There are some conditions in order to do that. Chief among them is to submit a 10-year building plan, which this district completed a 10-year plan with Dr. Boucher 2 years ago. We have not received information from the State Department. I confirmed with them last week. They still do not have a template or a guide on what their proposed 10-year plan will look like. And so as soon as we have that information, the suggestion, and we ran this through the facilities committee as well, is to take that in one lump sum for us use for some of our major capital projects that we have outstanding, and then either invest the remaining in potentially anywhere from a high yield interest savings account. We could acquire additional property, something, so that we're not necessarily just sitting on that money. For our district, that's a $1.2 million amount. We've been told not to expect, if we say we want it up front, CISA will not expect to give it all up front, because it's gonna take a little while for all of the money to come in. But for us, we have two major capital projects outstanding that right now are outside of the scope of our capacity with our reserve fund and our plant facilities levy, and that's re-roofing the classroom wing of this building, and replacing 6 of the HVAC units that are 25 plus years old on this building. I feel like we're spending, I need to probably tell you, we're probably spending $1,000 or $2,000 a month just on HVAC in both buildings, just keeping our heaters and air conditioners running. And so that's just been a significant increase for us this year too. So rough estimate, I couldn't really give you right now. We put in the new HVAC unit in this building last spring, and it was a little over $16,000 installed. I expect that price is closer to $20,000 now, and we have 6 of those to do. Roof work on this building, I did have a roofing contractor come take a look. The original project bid we got from a vendor was about $350,000 just for this wing. This roofing contractor, I said, I just need a better ballpark to know if I'm happy to do a closed bidding process or not. So he took some measurements and is sending it to his sales team to try and figure out what it might be ballpark without getting too specific with us. But I'm hoping that re-roof will come in the $150,000 range. I hope, because if it's more than that, we have to go through a whole separate process with that. So any questions on those things first before we get deeper into the well? Okay. So, $1.2 million over 10 years is $120,000 a year, right? And that's what they're leading some of these districts to say that that's how you're going to pay for your facilities and maintenance. Because the other factor that we have taken away from us is a maintenance match. So we used to be required to set a certain portion of our general fund aside for maintenance, and then the state would match part of those dollars back. For us in our district, we meet that requirement by our plant facilities levy. We don't have to actually pull it out of our general fund, but those matching dollars goes away. The lottery money goes away as well. And so I have said very openly that I am so thankful that we passed our plant facilities levy, because if we didn't have our plant facilities levy, I still don't know how we would pay for facilities and maintenance right now. There are districts out there that they're getting this money and it's not going to cover their bills. And so they're still having to try and consider running plant facility levies or other supplemental levies to help offset that. That being said, as many of you are aware, this district has shifted and changed the plant facilities levy over the last couple of years from where historical collections have been. So if we pull open the historical expenditures, so this, we will zoom in. And if you scroll down a little bit to the bottom, kind of give you an indication there on the gray line as to how much money we've spent out of our plant facilities every year for the last 5 years, plus a projection for this year. We're averaging somewhere around $400,000 expenditure out of that account. So in the FY23 year, which was last year, we collected $203,000 in plant facilities. This year, because we passed the plant facilities levy with the stipulations based on the amount that we asked our constituents for, We received $356,000. And you can see there at the bottom is the levy revenue, right? So 2 years ago, we actually collected 538, or 3 years ago. 2 years ago, 203, this last year, 356. It's anticipated that we're gonna need somewhere in the neighborhood of $420,000 minimum next year out of our plant facilities levy to help offset this. And some of this will come into play as we talk through the next document here, but I wanted to make sure that we talk about this because we, as a board, you will be tasked to identify how much you would like to levy the local tax base for plant facilities. With the passing of our levy, we are actually able to collect over $600,000 a year based on the approval of our constituents by 60+% when we did this in March of last year. I don't think that we need to collect that much from our local taxpayers, yourselves included. But it's important to know what the cap is versus what we actually need. So Jen, if you'll go to the other anticipated expenditures. So I've been doing some work. Those more chickens or somebody else? The anticipated expenditures here identifies kind of our options. So we've spent some time talking over the last couple of months about the impact of the ABM contract, specific as it relates to maintenance and facilities and the desire to, if at all possible and cost effectively, get back to district employees, at least in part, for some of those roles. And so this is kind of a map of what that would look like within our 420 account, which is our maintenance and facilities account. Based on if we did full ABM, which is our current contingent of ABM staff right now, that's a maintenance lead, a grounds person, and 3 custodians. Versus identifying the other options there, which would be to hire a maintenance lead employed by the district or do custodial only, and we do a grounds contract with a third party, or employ a grounds employee part-time as well. So you can see from a financial standpoint there that ABM, a full contract ABM right now is the current low fiscal estimate there. The highest estimate there would be just a single grounds or a single maintenance lead position. And then there's the grounds contract is the next lowest compared to the full ABM contract. So, again, we've had a lot of discussion around how and why the district went with ABM. And there have been a lot of discussion as to its effectiveness. I think it's worth noting that we've seen a dramatic improvement, at least in my building, with some of our new staff. I have heard new things and good things about the new staff over here. I received some compliments from some community members just about how the campus was looking. I still see cheatgrass and dandelions everywhere I look, so it's something that I continue to talk with them about. But so this is just that component. And it's important because, again, as it relates to our plant facilities levy, at the very minimum, we need to levy enough to cover that budget, right? And right now, we have about $250,000 in savings in the plant facilities budget, which right now, if this roof were to fail, that would probably take all of that to do, and then we would have no money in the savings. So again, the goal is to levy a percentage more than what we need in order to hold that in reserve for capital projects. And that's part of why that 10-year plan is so important when it comes to those other funds. Because, we have the roof, we have the HVAC, but in 3 years, we're gonna need to resurface our parking lots again. we're gonna have to redo, the stucco on the side of the old gym already. Some of those projects come up. And we want to make sure that we have, enough money set aside for capital projects that we can complete those projects. Additionally, one of the things that, since the drop has been made in the plant facilities budget, an unintended consequence, and in my time sitting both as a candidate for this position and shortly after being hired in this position, was not raised in the discussion around trimming the plant facilities budget, is that the plant facilities budget also pays for our furniture for our classrooms. So we have not ordered any new desks or chairs in 2 years. We have rapidly failing older desks and chairs and tables in our district. And so part of this budget includes an increased amount of furniture expenditure there in order to get back on track. I've been told that historical practice used to be to try and pick one classroom per building to kind of refresh with new desks and new chairs and to try and keep things updated and fresh. Both from an aesthetic perspective, but more in my eyes as a safety perspective. As a staff member who had to fill out an incident report for breaking Miss Miller's chair, I know that we've had at least a half dozen issues over the last year of students falling because of failing furniture across the district, in addition to falling ceiling tiles and light panels and all kinds of other things. And in order for us to maintain a safe and effective environment, we have to make sure that we have the funds set aside to do that. So yes, we'll be receiving $1.2 million to help with some of the big projects, but we also need to make sure that our operational budget actually covers our operational expense. And we've been operating very slim for 2 years. And I've kind of trimmed and tightened as much as I can to keep us there while still renovating and reopening the old gym. But we're at a point now where it would behoove us as a board and as a district to bring that plant facilities collection number back up to about, my recommendation is $430,000. And so again, this will show you based on our staffing allowance, how much of that would go into the savings account. So if we go with the lead maintenance employee with the district, that puts less than $200 in the bank account at the end of the year versus some of the other options that are available there. It's a lot of information, it's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of jargon. So please ask questions for clarification if you have them. I'm just presenting the information. Yes, I still personally, and again, it comes down to sustainability, right? So there's pros and cons to that. Can some of this be trimmed one way or the other to try and do that? Yes. Specifically, I tried to do my best estimate as to, so for example, part of the reason why the third column there is the second lowest is because we don't have to put money aside for fuel and lubes and other materials because the company that we would hire would provide all of the mowers and the fuel and all of that as part of the contract, right? But you see a jump there from 17,000 to 60,000. Right, just in that one line item because it just shifts the money around. So it's not a straight yes for yes from a project management perspective, especially with us. The trick is with the 521 money, the $1.2 million, we can't use that for salaries and benefits. We can use it for contractors, but we can't use it for salaries and benefits. But we can use plant facilities money for salary and benefits. So again, trying to spend $1.2 million without having somebody on board to help us prioritize those projects and to manage those projects is kind of a catch too. So we're going to talk here shortly about the request, the RFQ timeline for construction manager and architect, that plays into this $1.2 million as well. And so as we start looking at bigger projects, we require that assistance from construction managers and architects. The lead maintenance position is really, if we were to hire it as a district employee, it would really just take a lot of burden off of Jen and I to be able to say, hey, you're the district maintenance person, I need you to make sure ADM's doing this, this, and this, and this, right? ADM is doing a better job than they have at the crew. They have a maintenance lead. They've provided this year an additional kind of supervisor mentor for their maintenance lead. But really, it's still a lot of micromanagement from Jen and I to get projects done around us. So, but again, I don't see currently within the budget really come up with that extra position. This year.
Any further discussion in reference to school facilities, maintenance, modernization, and plant facilities? No such thing.
Is RFQs request for quote?
Yes.
I see that on like this, no. Dr. Boucher.
Yeah, request for quote.
Is that what it is?
Anything else? We'll move on to 8C, consideration of approval of the ABM contract for the 2024-2025 school year.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I included several documents in the packet. First is just kind of the initial contract that was signed previous that provides kind of the scope of everything at the time that this was instituted in 2021. The scope at the end of this document has been updated, and so I included that as well. We updated it with ADM last year to include things primarily around the cafeteria cleaning and taking care of that. And then the two other documents is that we have a notice that the new pricing from the ADM as of July 1st would be a 3% increase to $20,485 and 46 cents per month. And then the other document is just the price variance if we went with a partial staffed position there. So those numbers are the numbers that were utilized in the proposed expenditure worksheet from the last discussion I had. But it just kind of gives you an indication there as to what our contracts currently, if we remain with ABM in full capacity, we're looking at $245,826.
Sure. You will have a motion in reference to the ABM contract.
We'll remind the board that the current contract expires at the end of June. You can request as a district to take action on the contract.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the ABM contract.
Full.
As stated.
Okay. Have motion to accept the ABM contract. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the ABM contract for the 2024-2025 school year. Any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Moving on to consider approval for the varsity football camp at College of Idaho.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion that we approve varsity football camp at College of Idaho.
Everybody's jumping at that one. I gave it to Nikki.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the varsity football camp at College of Idaho. Do we have any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? The motion passes. Moving on to consider approval for football equipment to be used at the College of Idaho camp.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion
No.
to approve the use of football equipment at the College of Idaho camp.
Did you have something, sir?
Okay.
Motion is second to approve the use of football equipment at the College of Idaho camp. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make sure that I provided context for the board to understand this request. So, as members of IHSAA, during the season, our athletes are covered under catastrophic insurance through IHSAA. Outside of season, they are not. So this is a required component that saying we are approving our team to use it, but IHSAA does not cover their liability for that. So I just again want to make sure that as board members, you recognize the context behind the request.
Yep, I think we went through this last year. Any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Moving on to consider approval of RFQ timeline for construction manager and architect.
Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead, sir.
So with the anticipation of the modernization funds, we do not currently as a district have a construction manager or architect under agreement with our district that is expired. Typically, those are 5-year agreements. We were under one with the construction of the elementary school. That agreement has expired after a couple of years. This is a process in which we send out these RFQs for construction managers and architects. They send back a proposal saying that we would like to be your construction managers. This is what it's going to cost to put us on retainer. I didn't ask whether that's $50,000 or $80,000, and now I couldn't tell you. And typically it's kind of an upfront retainer fee to start doing preliminary work, and then it's a percentage or a portion of fee when an actual project is instituted. So I worked with Dr. Boucher, who has served in this capacity here as a board consultant, but also serves as one of the foremost school facilities planners in the country. And so he has drafted this timeline for us and assisted with the drafting of these documents. So I'm seeking approval tonight for this timeline. And at which time, at the conclusion of this timeline in June, we would then receive information from construction managers and architects, and the board would then take action on whether or not they wanted to enact or implement an actual agreement with the construction manager or architect. So as of right now, the only thing you're approving is this timeline and the expenditure of the legal notices associated with this timeline. And we've already, it cost us $1,000 of consultant time to have this drafted, including all of the supporting documents that he's already provided to the district, including the rating scales on how to judge the packets and some of those types of things. So again, with the anticipation of us having some major capital projects in our future, not just with the modernization funds, but with the potential expansion of our district based on local development. I think it would be wise for us to sooner than later at least have some experts related to that we could initiate in a proactive approach. So I'm just asking tonight the board approve this timeline, and then we can get into more specifics as we get proposals to evaluate.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the RFQ timeline for construction manager and architect?
Mr. Chair. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I propose that we approve the timeline for construction manager and architect as presented.
We have a motion to approve the RFQ timeline for construction manager and architect. Do I have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. And then last but not least, I believe, no, it's not last, sorry, I lied. We have a request for approvals to support resolution to maintain local control over our safety protocols. You gonna take this one, or?
If you want, I can have my perspective afterwards.
So, for those of you that may or may not know, during the last legislature, there was some legislators that were trying to pass law stating that any school employee who had a enhanced carry permit could carry their gun on school grounds and did not have to notify anyone. That did not pass. I believe Marsing started this resolution in reference to the state already has a law in place giving us that opportunity to make that decision. Some districts have chosen to make that decision to allow their employees that have enhanced carry permits because of the amount of time it takes for law enforcement to respond to their locations. So that's already in place. So this resolution would hopefully stop the legislature from telling us what we should be doing in our district when it comes to carrying guns on school grounds. Anything else?
I think every year for the last 5 years, somebody has run a firearms in schools legislation. This last year, this last legislative session was the first time that was heavily backed by the National Rifle Association. So it led to an overwhelming ballot support by the Republican Party sitting in the legislature in Idaho. Many of which we have been told through representatives of the lobby for ISBA or for the Idaho School Boards Administration and through the IEA that personally and philosophically they don't agree with arming teachers in the schools, but it's an election year and the NRA is backing it and I can't afford to lose my constituents. The chairman of the committee that it passed the House overwhelmingly 53-17, and it went to the Senate, and the Senate shelved it in committee. It's anticipated that this is going to continue to come back up in legislative session. There has been draft language, including representations from the lobby, from the school organizations and the SRO organizations and chief of police around maybe it's required to have a team, but it should still be up to the district to identify how they want to do that rather than it just being an open, if you have an enhanced concealed carry. So this is an ISBA resolution that has to be submitted by July 31st. Figured out the timeline there. And so trustee CV from Marcy is the one that has pushed this out and asked for our board to support this resolution. It will then go to the ISBA convention for final approval from ISBA membership in support of that resolution.
So do we have a motion in reference to this resolution?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to support the resolution to maintain local control over safety protocols.
Who was that? Sissy? Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve supporting the resolution to maintain local control over our safety protocols. Any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Now to 8H. Consider approving members for district negotiations team. You want me to take that? Since the association has, the NEA has agreed to interest-based IBB, as Mr. Forbes likes to have it.
That's just what it is.
Another acronym? Interest-based bargaining, how's that? Is that better? We will gladly accept that, and I would request that the board approve Matt Campbell, Danita Tincher, and myself to be members of the district negotiations team.
Along with.
Utilizing the process. IBB.
Yes, using IBB.
So you need
Motion in a second, yeah.
consider approving members of the district negotiations team. I request that we go forward with
You have to name them.
myself, John Lorenzo, and David Peachy.
We have a motion to have Matt Campbell, John Baldazzo, Donita Tincher as the members of the district negotiations team. Do I have a second? A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
In light of what the association has shared earlier, I would also like to ask that, and this probably also, no, this falls later in the meeting.
Any further discussion? Having none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, we're down to conclusion. Do you have any board requests of district administration?
This is where I was saying, what I would like to do, with your permission, is to work with the association in regards to contact for their facilitator for interest-based bargaining, and reach out to schedule utilizing them, unless the board would like to potentially look at another contractor for facilitation.
It is my understanding that there is a gentleman with McCall School District, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, I'm sorry, that also has several years of IBB training under his belt, not just in Idaho, but also in another state. So if we could look at both of those, I think that would be really good. Just that way we at least have some options.
I'll put that to you.
Anything else from anyone else? Does anyone have any unscheduled future items that they would like to bring up?
Several. From us to you.
From us to me.
So first is, I think all four of you have conducted your literacy training as board members. Trustee Clellan has not.
Correct.
So we'll need to work with him. There is an opportunity coming up to meet that obligation, so we'll communicate that with him. You guys are more than welcome to repeat it if you'd like. Just let your clerk know. We can sign you up for that. Additionally, there is another ISBA opportunity. That we were all emailed about today for the 2024 Leadership Institute. So this is taking place in Meridian on June 12th. West Ada School District from 9 to 1. Specifically to discover about board leadership, helping develop goals around student achievement, and both for the district, but also for me as your superintendent. Talking about progress monitoring for student achievement throughout the year, which we talked about going back to the convention, about how to better actively engage the board in discussions around student achievement dialogue. And then how to engage community around support of student success. So I highly recommend that if board members are available to consider participating in that. I will make my schedule available to attend with board members that wish to go. But if board members do not wish to go, I probably will not.
I'm planning on that.
When did we receive that? Today?
Today.
2:15.
Yeah, there's a reminder for
Katie
Dave.
Russell. I'll forward it to you.
I think I mentioned this last month, because it's the training that you've been to that the rest of us have not. Because you currently, I believe, have the building stuff. And so,
But I don't see it.
So we just need to get people registered and make sure that we pay that. So if board members could let Roseanne know by the end of the week, that would be appreciated. We have several, Katie Russell. We have several other dates that I want to make sure that we put on your calendar if they are not already there. May 21st is graduation.
Me and say, I already have something
I
planned.
put like 10 reminders on my phone.
Please be there.
What time do we need to be here since it starts at 6 p.m.?
45.
Oh. Jeez. I'll be here earlier than that.
5:30, if you want parking.
Doors open at 5:30.
Thank you.
If you have a speaking part.
Miss Jensen?
I don't have speaking.
I can give you one.
You were giving the stage though.
Yes, I thought.
Oh,
can
was I
delegate-
voluntold?
I can delegate some speaking parts. Yeah, I do want to make sure that I let the board know. I do have a medical procedure earlier that day. I've been assured by my doctor I should be back and clear and be able to fully participate in graduation, but I will be working with Ms. Wright and Chairman Moldozo and Trustee Jensen on a backup plan. For some reason. So, additionally, I just want to make sure that the whole board is aware. So there's a group that includes some of your membership. We are leaving on the 28th for a Professional Learning Communities Institute in Tulsa, Oklahoma on the 28th through the 31st. So this has been part of the discussions, again, going back to the time that we spent together at the School Boards Convention in Boise in November around how to better design and develop systems around communicating student success and student progress in school. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think it'll be a good time. Chairman Baldazzo, Trustee Jensen, myself, Ms. Wright, Ms. Streifel, and Ms. Eiley will be going as kind of our guiding coalition into our working with PLCs in the next couple of years with that. There's something else. Jen's birthday is June 9th. I know the year too,
I know.
because I had to fill out your airline information several times. Another date. I can't remember.
You're looking at the wrong dude, because you didn't tell me.
I'll email you
We're gonna have staff barbecue.
on the 24th,
Last day of school.
last day of school, or on the last day of teachers.
Both.
So which?
You wanna see students and not the seniors next Thursday, lunchtime.
Next Thursday, so the 24th?
23rd.
Friday,
That's right.
24th.
Oh, so 23rd? And then teachers is the 24th? What time is the?
11:30 for the
11:30?
teachers.
Both? What time is the?
Yeah.
Same time?
I remember the very important date. We need to set a date for our budget
Workshop.
workshop.
Oh, yes.
So currently, our budget hearing is scheduled for June 10th, which is earlier than I would like to have it, but it's our regular board meeting, and it's already been published to the tax commission. I would like to hold, and again, several of us are out of town the week of the 27th. I would like to see potentially about running a preliminary board workshop next Thursday afternoon, early evening, if the board's available. It's not ideal because it's the last day of school with kids, but other than that, we're looking at doing it the week of June 3rd. So
And I would be limited on June 3rd.
I'm not available on June 3rd.
Yeah.
So
And I would be limited that week, because I start that. Unless it was in the evening. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm happy to prioritize an evening. I think last year when we started into the work, we got cut short. We only scheduled about an hour and a half, I think, on that. And I think realistically, we need a good solid 2.5 hours to kind of get into the details of the general budget. So we just need to identify so that we can get posted for a special meeting. Is the week, like, is it? I wouldn't want to go any later than June 5th. With the hearing on the 10th. 27th is Memorial Day. We can do kind of an optional, we've done micro workshops before, where we didn't do it all as a whole board. We can do it that way too. We're just so late. We're just so late in the system that we've got to get a budget workshop together. And it would be best if we prioritize a couple hours, even if it's an evening, to sit together and.
You're not available at all the 3rd.
We're not available at all the week of the 3rd.
Okay. So that leaves Thursday.
That leaves Thursday or Friday.
Yep.
This week, or not this week.
Next week, and you're gone?
There is no way I'm coming on the 22nd.
23rd?
I'll probably still be at school.
The 23rd,
The 23rd, yes. There's no way.
24th?
Are you out for Memorial Day weekend?
We have other graduations to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can do a preliminary workshop later this week. We just don't have any solid numbers. So.
What about 28th, 29th, 30th?
We're all gone. Jesse and I are gone.
We could do, I mean.
And Micah's on.
You guys
Yeah.
are gone, all of that.
Yeah.
We could potentially do a call, virtual workshop, where I could lead it in person from Oklahoma, and those of you here can join virtually.
I don't like that either.
I don't like any of the options either.
We have to do it before the 10th.
Our hearing is scheduled for the 10th. We do not have to adopt the budget on the 10th. it would be nice if we had it in place to adopt it in the 10th. I'd like you to hear about it before we say this is what we're planning to do with it.
Yeah. Why do you always have to be the one that's okay with everything?
As long as Thanksgiving.
Yes. Yeah, yes.
So, that Thursday, we do have early release. For 1 o'clock, where I'm out.
I would plan, I mean, if we're gonna do it on that Thursday, I wouldn't plan it any sooner than 4:30, probably.
We can provide comfort
We
snacks.
can provide something, yeah.
And you're gone?
I have a bunch of family in town.
Okay. Yeah, no.
And again, we can go over it again offline. As well.
They were dark.
I have a graduate.
I keep
I'm a
forgetting
little
that.
busy the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I kind of.
Yeah, look what you did.
He's made her come to a board meeting and everything.
I hope you've had fun. We forgot to pop some popcorn.
Set a date. We'll see who can get there. Some way or the other.
May 23rd at 4:30.
I will not be there. Just
That's
tell you.
We can discuss it on the plane.
If I can get Trustee Sorrell there, then we can hold another one like the 5th.
I'll be booking.
Right. So, again, we don't have to just hold one, if we can hold multiple, it just, again, it's from a strategic planning perspective. As we walk through why the numbers are what they are and what our plan is, how to allocate those numbers. Just so that you understand them, and again, part of that is for the general fund, part of that is for our plant facilities levy. So that when I present the budget in June, ideally, we accept the budget at the June board meeting, but if we don't have the numbers finalized at that point, we have in the past said we are gonna hold a special meeting. We do have to have the budget adopted by the end of June. And based on the schedules of everybody that we've talked to, that's likely gonna be by, the 20th or 21st of June, so. Okay.
Anything else?
So Madam Clerk,
Yes, sir.
the 23rd at 4:30,
Yes, sir.
please post a special meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And then we'll see who can make it, and if there's not enough people, we'll do another time.
Anything else?
And how long you think?
I would say 4:30 to 7. Whoever gets to follow in Caldwell.
That I'm done.
Or Milton. Make the shop.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, make a motion to adjourn at 9:27.
One second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You're opposed, get out. If you have notes, make sure you're writing in the top. Give them.
You got that